He's Tony. I'm Mike, and we are here to watch Will burn. This episode 53. We're not bringing just one movie. Oh no, we're not bringing two. No, not three. No, not four. 5. A whole motherfucking series. The whole original OG Planet of the Apes. I'm sorry, we just got done shooting the action bows. I'm still in this mode. So we're going to start out with 1968 Planet of the Apes.
A civilization where humans run wild in the jungles. And the superior beings are apes.
Now the tribunal has placed you in my custody for final disposition. Do you realize what that means? No.
Charlton Heston, Ryan McDowell, Kim Hunter, Linda Harrison. Take it away, sir.
And Dr. Zayas. Don't forget Dr. Zayas.
Who's played by this guy?
What he said right there. I don't know how deep we want to get into the plot of any of these because they've been around forever. Mm-hmm. But you had never actually watched all of POTA all the way through.
No. I've watched Planet of the Apes, and I've seen Beneath the Planet of the Apes, but it was like forever ago. And I don't think I ever watched it from beginning to end. It was like snippets here and there, bits and pieces. But I never watched Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Conquest, or Battle for the Planet of the Apes. So this is like all new to me. And apparently this is a thing for you. You do every year.
We do a POTA-thon once a year. We normally do it in the fall. Me and Jordan and Karen will sit and we will like literally watch all 5 of the Planet of the Apes films. Not always back to back. Sometimes we'll take the whole weekend to do it, but it's always in a very short period of time. And it's just because like this was the original sci-fi franchise film. This was the one that they played it straight. It didn't like veer off into Stupidsville like a lot of sci-fi, series tended to do back at that time. But just to recap the story for you real quick, Charlton Heston and pals crash on a planet, and what they don't realize is that this planet is ruled by apes, and they're taken prisoner. And Charlton Heston can't speak, and so he's put into a cage with Kim Novak, and I'm not seeing a problem here so far. But that all being said, he then actually speaks for the first time.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
And kind of blows up every preconceived notion that they had about how apes are divinely inspired creations and therefore man has no soul.
Tell us, Bright Eyes, why do men have no souls? What is the proof that a divine spark exists in the simian brain?
Man's just a race of gingers. No offense to our ginger audience, we love you.
So, but it's a very smart film. It's a very character-heavy film.
The thing that smacked me is written, partly written by Ron Serling, who, if you don't know who Ron Serling is, wrote The Twilight Zone.
This is not a new world. It is simply an extension of what began in the old one.
And I was like just mind blown. I was like, of course Ron Serling wrote this. This watches like a long episode of The Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
And I loved it.
So, and I mean, the first one is easy to love. There's a reason why it is a mainstay. And it's been remade twice now. Once not so successfully by Tim Burton, and once actually technically
we still haven't got there yet.
We haven't got there yet. We're supposed to be getting there this summer, which is why one of the reasons that I wanted to do this was I wanted to talk about the original, because you go back and while the makeup effects are kind of a little dated,
Sure.
They still hold up. You can still see the performances behind every one of these characters. And the other thing is that this is very much a character study of Cornelius and Zira and Taylor and Dr. Zayas. And that's really where the drama, the intrigue of this film comes through, is you have all these competing ideologies. Who's right?
There is just one reality left. We are here and it is now. You get hold of that and hang on to it, or you might as well be dead.
Dear, you're a scientist. Don't you believe your own eyes?
The sooner he is exterminated, the better.
I discovered evidence of a simian culture that existed long before the sacred scrolls were written.
Objection!
Well, naturally, it's proven that Cornelius has a theory that, maybe apes evolved from man, which is naturally, Rod Serling going to people that had problems with man evolving from apes.
Oh, Cornelius has developed the most brilliant hypothesis.
But I'm probably wrong.
That the ape evolved from a lower order primate, possibly man.
That's definitely part of it. But then the other part of it is they go to this archaeological dig and they find that there was society that had been there before apes, and it was obviously, there's something more to it. It was obviously more advanced than the apes, but they also made a doll that could speak.
That's the paradox. For the more ancient culture is the more advanced.
Keep digging, Cornelius. You'll find evidence of the master of this house. An ape.
Dr. Zayas, would an ape make a human doll that talks?
And no ape would ever have made a human doll that spoke.
Yeah.
There's a lot of themes in this. There's a lot of subplots in this, but it's such a streamlined movie. Again, every year when I rewatch this, it flies by.
Yeah.
It is like literally one of those, you turn it on, you start watching, and then you're like, oh, it's over already. Okay, that's it. And yet,
And there's a funny thing about it too, is that the first 20 or so minutes is Taylor and his companions trying to find their way to civilization of some kind or another, because they crash and just wander around the desert and shit like that.
Actually, they're trying to find potable water.
Yeah.
They're trying to find any kind of vegetation, because where they crash at, there's literally nothing. It is barren desert, and there's no radiation, but all the nitrates in the soil are gone, so nothing can grow there. And they're like, well, maybe it was a huge asteroid impact that wiped all this out, all that. There's a ton of speculation as to what's wrong. And then when they actually do find life, they know, okay, we'll be okay here. We'll be able to actually find something.
Look on the bright side. This is the best they've got around here. In 6 months, we'll be running this planet.
which I always thought was great. And then you have the hunt of the gorillas showing up and hunting the humans, and Taylor gets shot. One of the astronauts gets injured, and they wind up lobotomizing him. I'm assuming one of them gets killed, one of them gets injured, and I'm assuming that they took the opportunity to lobotomize him because he didn't get shot in the throat, and they knew he could talk right away.
But then, you did it. You cut up his brain, you bloody baboon!
And so I love that reveal. And they don't make movies like this anymore. They don't make a movie that is this well paced. This is an incredibly dense movie. There's a shit ton of ideas, and there's a shit ton of action that's going on, and it's told in a very personal way, because you're only following Charlton Heston's character throughout all this, but you have all these other characters that are feeding into it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's so not only they pack all this stuff in, but they wrap everything up too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so everything's in a nice tight little bow, and then you still got that epic ending.
Yes.
Of Charlton Heston and Nova, cruising down the beach on the horse, and there's the Statue of Liberty.
You maniac! You blew it up!
Just there.
Just big as life.
Half buried, So, I mean, it's so iconic. I mean, there's nothing bad I can say about this movie. I mean,
And I mean, this was a contemporary to 2001.
Yeah.
And while 2001 is hailed as a masterpiece for its special effects, this holds a dear spot in my heart. And I think this film should be better regarded than it is because it's kind of like, oh, it's an old movie, da da da. This film still is still immensely watchable. It's immensely entertaining.
Yeah.
To
Well, I think the
boot.
other thing too is what could maybe drop its legacy is the fact that there's 4 sequels that come like immediately afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you haven't watched these sequels, you may look down on them. Plus there's also a TV series Planet of the Apes
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
there's like a saturation factor that's gone into it. But I think overall, I think it's just kind of just general, lack of awareness of the sequels
Yeah.
and actually how good they are. And I think the also thing that helps this series is the fact that other than this movie, all the rest of the sequels were written. The stories were written by one person.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's one singular vision
Yeah.
from beginning to end.
And if I'm not mistaken, they're all produced by the same guy too. So he was able to keep a consistent tone throughout the entire thing. And we're going to get into that in just a second when we start talking about Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
So hang on, but before you check out there, I want to talk about the budget of this real fast.
Okay.
Because I think it was like just shy of $5 million, right around there, which adjusted for inflation today is roughly about $60 million. And it brought in like 30 something. I wish I wrote it down, but just for inflation, it brought in $286 million in the box office. So, I mean, for a medium budgeted film by today's standards, it did fairly well.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is also a risky film to make for them at the time. And let's be honest, I mean, it was 68. It was not a great year by any stretch of the imagination. And 2001 had already come out, if I'm not mistaken, too. So, I mean, competing against that kind of backdrop, there was a much larger market for science fiction. But this was back when science fiction was legitimately the space of ideas, whereas nowadays it feels like most science fiction is just an action film with a techie veneer slapped on top of it.
Yeah, the backdrop of the future.
Yeah.
It's just a different setting as opposed to an actual study of ideas and how things could be in the future.
Seal the cave.
That is correct, and you will both stand trial for heresy.
But the proof, the doll.
In a few minutes, there will be no doll. There can't be. I'm sorry.
But anyways, where science fiction today, is like it's just in a different set in the future as opposed to the exploration of ideas and how things could evolve in the future.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about all that because this has a dark ending, but if you think this one's dark, wait for the sequel. Beneath Planet of the Apes is coming up next.
Still, what about the future?
I may just have saved it for you.
So film number 2 in this series, Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
James Franciscus as astronaut Brent on a reckless mission to rescue Taylor, trapped by the swaggering, brutal master race of apes who dominate the Earth, a planet shattered by the atomic war of a distant, forgotten past. The irresistible war machine of the guerrilla army versus the devastating secret mind weapons of the subterranean mutants in civilization's final battle.
This came out 2 years later in 1970.
Yeah, and part of that was Charlton Heston didn't want to have to come back for it. I think they were originally figuring that they were going to tell this story and they were going to have Charlton Heston, return and reprise his role, and they didn't. But Charlton Heston did agree to come in, and he shot some scene like at the very beginning of the film and then the very end of the film. And in terms of making sure that your character never has to come back, they went a little overboard on this one.
Someone at the pillar!
This one people are a lot less familiar with. So in this one, a second ship is dispatched. After the Icarus disappears in the first film.
Well, we were following Taylor's trajectory, so whatever happened to us must have happened to him.
they apparently had some temporal phenomenon that they ran into. So they dispatched a second ship, which is designed exactly like the first one. But this one actually manages to land on Earth instead of on the water and sink like the Icarus did. And when the captain, God, what is the captain's name?
Doesn't matter.
My name's Brent. Brent.
Anyway, when the captain in this one
The
actually
guy that's
arrives-
not Taylor.
yeah, Taylor Light.
Right.
He legitimately looks almost exactly like Charlton Heston did in the first film with the beard and the hair and everything else. But he, comes across Nova.
Taylor. Where is he?
Well, she's non-communicative, but she's got Taylor's dog tag, so he knows that she knows where he is, and he's trying to figure out some way to communicate with her.
And the first part of this is really kind of almost like a brief retelling of the original film.
Taylor?
No, not Taylor. My name's Brent.
You talked.
Has the same kind of beats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they managed to escape. Well, they escape off into the what they call the Forbidden Zone.
Forbidden Zone. Yep.
And so when they get into the Forbidden Zone, they end up finding a lost city.
Yeah.
And in that city is what appears to be a group of humans.
Yes.
But they're quasi-religious fanatics.
I reveal my inmost self unto my God.
Absolutely.
And so they're supposedly peaceful. They won't touch you physically because that's barbaric. But they'll with you all day long with their mind and torture you. That's perfectly fine by them.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not physically, but here. Here, you can hurt here, I know.
And the other thing is that they go to great pains to make sure that they know the apes exist. They know that they're out there. They go to great pains to make sure that the apes never actually try to come into their particular territory. So they have like these weird visual things that they do. And I don't know that they ever explain if they're just playing with their minds or
it's
or
explained they're
what.
playing with their minds because that's what they can do through their mind. They can visually project illusions and things like that and pain. So.
Ashes. Bid your soldiers to shoot our poor people.
I can't order them to do what the lawgiver has forbidden. Ape shall not kill ape.
This is a vision, and it is a lie.
And then even before that, they have ape-like scarecrows up to ward off. So they play on the primitive nature of the apes. And they do a good job of it until the general is like, something's a little fishier. This seems like bullshit.
Yeah, we need to head that way. We need to find out what's going on. There was Taylor was here. He was a mutant. Where there's one mutant, there's a lot more mutants.
Yeah.
So they actually and they take Dr. Zaius along with them as well. And that's the funny thing about it. In the first film, Zaius he's the defender of the faith and the chief science minister. And part of it is you can't do both. Taylor kind of is constantly throwing him in the face that, any science you don't like is heresy, he quotes from the sacred scripture, the sacred scrolls, and he's just kind of like, beware the beast man, he'll make a desert of your planet, all that. So Zaius
He wasn't wrong.
He's terrified of the humans, and he's terrified of Taylor, and he's terrified of what they might find in the Forbidden Zone. And when they actually do get there, you actually get to see that play out in a really convincing way.
They are obscene.
That's one part of it. The other thing is that the humans that are there know that Taylor and Taylor Light are actually not the same kind of humans they are. That they're
Yeah.
not the mutes that are running in the valleys and stealing corn from the ape farms. They're actually legitimately missing link, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word. They are the people before the mutants actually took over the scene.
Well, from this planet, but from another time, 2,000 years ago.
I know it sounds insane. You're talking.
Well, certainly we can talk. It's a rather primitive accomplishment. We use it when we must.
When we pray.
When we sing to our God.
I love the look of this movie. I love a lot of the visuals. I love the whole dystopian underground ruins that have been, refurbed. I also love the fact that you see the humans, and then you get the big reveal when they actually take their faces off, and they just have like this peeled skin look to them. It's really creepy and
Yeah, it's
unsettling.
really gross. Yeah, there's a lot of veiny action going on there.
And
it's not the adults too, it's the children also.
Oh,
the
yeah.
children born all veiny and weird looking. They look like
Hank and Dean
Yes,
Venture
thank
from
you,
the
yes.
Pony Days.
I hate touching them. They feel like giant Stretch Armstrongs.
I'm sure that's intentional, to be honest with you.
I think you're right.
They then throw Taylor and Taylor Light into jail, and they try to get them to kill each other, and then Nova speaks. For the first time, she actually tries to stop them, and that snaps them out of their own heads. They have just witnessed something just short of a miracle, and then General Ursa shows up with his guerrilla army in tow, and they find the mutants, and they just decide to mow everybody down. It is a war of genocide, for lack of a better term. This movie is incredibly violent and incredibly bloody. And then the ending that I alluded to earlier, well, it turns out that the mutants have taken to worshipping the Alpha Omega bomb, which they have a pipe organ built around, and it's the actual cathedral is the launch tube for this missile, and it is the bomb that is designed to basically blow up the planet. And at the end of the film, Taylor Light gets shot. And then Taylor gets shot, and he's like trying to get the Apes. Hey, we got to stop this from happening. It'll destroy the world. And they decide to shoot him instead. So he's like, you know what? I'm taking you all with me.
The end of the world. Help me. You asked me to help you? Man is evil. Bloody bastard.
A green and insignificant planet is now dead.
And so he hits the bomb button, and boom.
Which is funny for multiple reasons. Number one, he's like, you crazy son of bitches, you did it, you blew it up.
Yeah.
And then he went ahead and did it
Yes.
himself.
Yes.
The other funny thing, too, is the straight up contradiction, hypocrisy of the mutants. Here they are, supposedly a peaceful, pacifist society, but yet they worship a fucking bomb.
Yeah. And I believe that's all intentional. The other thing,
Of course it's all intentional.
for Taylor to do what he did, it makes perfect sense, because at the very beginning of the first film, his buddy is asking him, like, why did you come along? Why are you on this mission? What is the point of all this? I mean, I did it because I was the golden boy and I couldn't say no when they offered me the gig. Why are you here? And his whole thing is, I have to believe that there's something better than man in the universe, and so he's a seeker, and he's looking for the paragon of virtue, somebody that's not a hypocrite, all that. And when he realizes that he's back on Earth, he's just kind of like, yeah, let's just clean the slate on this one. It's heavy, it's dark.
It's heavy. It's dark. And I will say this is my favorite of the sequels.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
because of Bleak ending, plus it sets up the remaining films that come after this anyway, and it
Yes.
all comes full circle in the end.
Absolutely. And you know, the other thing is that, like I said, Harrison Ford wanted to be written out of Star Wars. This man blew up the world. he took them all with him. So yeah, it's probably the thing about this film is that you got to get past that first bit where, like, literally the first act of this film is a quick retelling of the first movie, because they have to establish the new captain that's not Taylor.
My name's Brent.
And that, I feel like, I get why they did it, but I always felt like that was a little bit of a missed opportunity. But once they get to the underground areas of this, I'm fascinated by it, because whoever came up with the mutants and the fact that they live underground and all this, they really put some thought into how they've structured it. And the fact that they're religious fanatics makes it even creepier.
Yes.
It just really sells. And then Ursus is, you know, like might makes right. We've got to roll in and do this.
I'll tell you one thing that every good soldier knows. The only thing that counts in the end is power. Naked, merciless force!
So no one's willing to back down, and it all ends in a big white fiery ball. So you had seen this one before,
I did.
but like, how long had it been?
Oh, it was a long time. I can't remember, so I'll probably say 8 to 10 years, probably even longer than that. It's a hot minute, to say the least.
I remember watching it on Channel 11, because like, they would do the Saturday movie matinees, and they would always play like the POTA films and Godzilla films and stuff like that. And so that was like the first time I saw it. And when you're like 8, 9 years old and you see this for the first time, you're just kind of like, what the hell did I just watch? You know? So you had that going on. And then this was also in 1970. So this was like before, like in the 80s, there was this like huge fear for Gen Xers about, you know, the upcoming impending nuclear war, and we had like the day after. We had the day after, and that was like a scary film. And then there was just a ton of like, what's the world going to be like if a nuclear war happens kind of films. So we were very conscious of it. This is 10 years before all that. This is a year before I was born, is when this came out. So this movie, again, ahead of its time, to say the very least. But then, it again, dealing with a lot of ideas. And while there is plenty of action at the very last act of this film, you gotta wait to get there. You gotta be a little patient. And I don't think this is a film that you can really appreciate until you're an adult and you watch it, because it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very
idea
heavy film, and it's a very character heavy film. And
like I say, you got to get through that first 20 minutes of, you know, Taylor Light.
Yeah.
Brent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the story gets going. But yeah, I again, like I said, this is my favorite of the sequels. I would easily watch this one again.
So is the future of science, with that rabble-rouser fomenting a senseless military adventure.
So that means, coming up next, Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
The only good human is a dead human!
So, movie 3 in the POTUS series, Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Welcome, gentlemen, to the United
Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Their adventures are completely fresh, completely new, astonishingly different from what you experienced in Planet of the Apes and Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Well, why doesn't she take it? Because I loathe bananas. I don't believe it.
Zira, are you mad? Does the other one talk?
Only when she lets me.
Why was Washington thrown into a turmoil by this one baby?
Stop him!
Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
1971.
Which is actually, I think, the first movie that is mostly happy.
Kind of, sorta. This one starts off with the spacecraft crashing again onto the Earth. This one lands into the ocean, gets towed in, and when they open it up the hatch, you know, we got these astronauts that are coming out, and they think they're going to be humans or, some other alien type, or who knows what the hell they're thinking. And they lift it up. Nope, it's Cornelius, Zira, and Milo.
Yes,
Dr. Milo.
Dr. Milo.
So, and here's the only thing I don't like about this movie is, supposedly the Apes rebuilt the ship and flew off.
They didn't rebuild it. There was the one that Taylor Light left in the desert.
They repaired it.
Yeah,
and they somehow figured out how to work the damn thing, which is some bullshit. If you saw the previous two movies, they didn't have any technology whatsoever.
It floats on the air.
Zira.
Try it.
Nonsense.
So how they figure this out in that short span of time, and then manage to launch as the world's getting blown up?
I got nothing. Look, it's a bit of a contrivance. I'm willing to surrender that
It's a
point.
huge contrivance.
Dr. Milo is a genius.
Dr. Milo was a genius well in advance of his time. When the spacecraft first landed on our seaboard, it was Dr. Milo who salvaged it. He studied it and half understood it.
How genius is he? He's so genius that we have to kill him in the first half.
Use your heads and start thinking. Now that they know we can speak, how much will we tell them?
By another gorilla, no less. Or by a gorilla. He's a chimpanzee. I'm sorry, my bad. But,
no, it was a gorilla.
Yeah, he's a chimpanzee. Dr. Milo's a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
The gorilla is who kills him. But
well, of course, the gorillas are fucking brutes.
But once you get past that dark kickoff on this one, it's actually kind of a strange, delightful, kind of fun, charming film because
on the surface, but really underneath, as you're peeling it back, so the Apes become like, first they have their initial contact with the government and stuff like that, and they don't want to talk because they're afraid they're going to get like persecuted or some shit like that. Yeah. And then they start talking. It's like, oh, these guys are intelligent.
I like you.
I have from the beginning.
So let's bring them in front of a committee and see how they do. And they just delight the crowd. Like, immediately, the whole world becomes enamored with these two.
Does the other one talk?
Only when she lets me.
So they become celebrities.
Yes.
But they're in a gilded cage. They are celebrities, but they don't get to go out when they want to go out. They go out whenever there's a function they got to go to.
Yes.
They give them clothes. They have, dinners with dignitaries and shit like that. So they're like these, they're like toy dogs, that the celebrities and, higher ups take out. Oh, check out my cute little monkey. Isn't it cute? It talks, it does tricks, all this shit, blah, 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 and they go back in the cage. But then you have the other dark side of it, the doctor, what's his name?
With me this evening in the studio is Dr. Otto Hasslein. He is a senior scientific advisor at the White House.
The villain.
He's a government agent.
Yeah. But he's like dead set that these apes are a threat to humanity, and I'm gonna find anything I can find on these guys to make you believe that they are a threat. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's why I love the attention to detail on this one, is because they let it slip that they're from the future.
We came from your future.
Yeah. And at that point, it's like, okay, wait, what do you mean you're from the future? And then Cornelius also admits that, well, we're from, men can't speak, apes speak. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that is let slip is that gorillas hunt men for sport.
And here's the most damning one of all that was coerced by Zira, is that they dissect humans.
Yes.
And that's the nail in the fucking coffin.
Yes. As to humans, I've dissected
I've examined thousands of them, and until now, I've only discovered 2 who could talk in my life.
And they use them for medical testing. And this is very much taking a very controversial thing and then flipping it on its head. What if you found out that there was another species that was using humans for testing? And again, this goes back to the fact that POTA is a sci-fi franchise about ideas. And there's literally like, this is, if we ever had an extraterrestrial that came to Earth and they happened to be friendly, this is exactly how they would wind up being treated. I have no doubt about that whatsoever.
Yes, I agree 100%.
Initially, it would be a celebrity and, oh, look how charming and wonderful and how like us they are. And then it's all the little things that make them different is all strikes against them. And for them to put this in a mainstream film, you know, in 1971 was really, and then to boot, Zira's pregnant.
Must have been the shock.
Shock my foot. I'm pregnant.
Yep.
And they, in no uncertain terms, are like, yeah, we've got to do everything we can to terminate that pregnancy, and then we've got to make sure that they cannot reproduce ever again, because we need to avert what's going to happen in the future. We need to stop it from happening right now.
Do you approve of assassination?
Oh, Mr. President, we condone the attempted assassination of Hitler because he was evil.
Yes, but would we have approved killing him in babyhood when he was still innocent? Or killing his mother when he was still in her womb? Or slaughtering his remote ancestors?
But clever apes that they are, with the assistance from the doctor and his assistant.
Yes, yeah.
I forgot what their names are.
And Ricardo Montalban.
Right. So they go to the circus, and Zira swaps the babies.
Yes.
Which only Zira knows that, and Ricardo Montalban. I'm assuming Cornelius does not know that. He may or may not, but I don't think they...
They don't indicate one way or the other. I'm assuming not, because she keeps the baby swathed in a bundle the entire time. The only giveaway is the St. Francis of Assisi medal.
It's a medal of St. Francis of Assisi.
Who is he?
He was a holy man who loved and cared for all animals.
Oh, thank you.
We'll hang it around the baby's neck for protection, huh?
So anyways, how we get to this point, why they have to escape, is since the agent dug up this dirt on Zira, they're now put in cages and stuff like that. Well,
and they're actually legitimately interrogating them. They're pumping her full of sodium pentothal, and they're recording everything, and they're trying to get all this information to the select committee in Congress so that they can, you know, dispose of their little problem there.
Yeah. But they escape because Cornelius accidentally injures one of the orderlies that's helping take care of them.
You better drink your soup and eat the oranges for the sake of that little monkey you got.
And they run off with the assistance of the other 2 doctors. They get to Ricardo Montalban, but they're still on the run. Well, they end up in this shipyard, and the agent catches up with them, and it's a gunfight. Well, it's not really a gunfight. Well,
it's a cold-blooded murder.
Yeah, it's really what it is,
legitimately, Cornelius has a gun. The agent has a gun. The agent shoots Zira and the baby.
Zira, I want that baby. If you won't give it to me, I'll shoot.
My God, stop him!
What's she doing?
But a charming film with a super dark ending, to say the very, very least. But as we all know, Ricardo Montalban and his normal, regular old this world chimp is now raising, you know, Cornelius's baby.
Intelligent creature. But then so were your mother and father.
Well, actually, and the other thing is there's one continuity error in here. If I'm not mistaken, they actually say that the ape that was the first one to speak's name was Aldo.
But then, on an historic day which is commemorated by my species, there came Aldo. He did not grunt. He articulated humans. He said, no.
I'm not positive on that one, so if I'm wrong, I'll correct myself when I edit
Which
this
actually,
here.
Aldo is the name of the general.
Yes, in the fifth movie.
Yes.
Yes. So, but had you ever seen this one before?
No, I never saw this one before.
And
no, I've very much enjoyed this. And again, the weird little continuity thing, or where they put the spaceship together and fly over here. It's fine. I'll let it pass, even though it's a glaring thing. But I agree with you. The way they portray the treatment of Zira and Cornelius, I think is spot on. I think that'd be exactly how this would play out. They'd be caught under wraps and stuff like that. And then once the public got to see them and see how they interact, they'd be like the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
They'd be paraded around just how they are portrayed in this. And yeah, some douchebag would find a way to
twist it and
incarcerate them and put them in cages.
Yeah, and
because that's what we would do.
It's
accurate.
It's
very
accurate, but again, it's a bleak ending on this one too.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's par for the course of the series, as you'll see as we keep going along.
So that's it for Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Coming up next is Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Good night.
Good night.
So, film 4 in the POTA franchise, and this is
This is 1974's Conquest
of
the Planet of the Apes.
First pampered as pets, then abused as servants, now oppressed as slaves.
This will be the end of human civilization, and the world will belong to a planet of apes!
Watch the screen explode as man faces ape in the ultimate revolution.
From this day forward, my people will plot and plan for the inevitable day of man's downfall. And that day is upon you now! Ready? Aim! Fire!
In this one, we pick up several years later, where now apes are being basically domesticated
and used for slave labor. And,
yeah.
And they actually explain this, and they stick to continuity on this one. It's brought up in Escape from the Planet of the Apes. But what had happened was that there was a plague.
They all died within a few months, 8 years ago. Every dog and cat in the world. It was like a plague. The disease that killed them was a mysterious virus brought back from outer space by one of the astronauts.
And so humans had to have pets, so they decided to start domesticating apes, and they started domesticating gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, and other monkeys. And then they found out that they could train them to do not just, basic tasks, but labor.
Humans wanting little household pets to replace the ones they had lost. Then when people realized how quick they were to learn, how easy to train, the pets became larger and larger until now.
And then at that point, they were
custodians, waiters, any job now that's typically done by teenagers, elderly, and immigrants.
Yeah, I mean, legitimately, absolutely, the exploited labor class. It's one of those where it's constantly escalating. They're aware that Zira's child was never found, and even though the body was dumped into the thing.
No. There's no clue or fact that Zero's child is because it got shot. It's dead. It's gone.
It's gone. But the governor of I guess it's California. I'm not sure. But he suspects that that's not what happened.
It's my understanding the baby was shot dead with its parents.
Oh, so it was believed, Mr. McDonald. I'm beginning to wonder if they shot the right baby.
The Apes could have switched their baby with one stolen from a zoo. Or perhaps a circus.
Well, but Ricardo Montalban does this very, very stupid thing by bringing Caesar into the city.
Yes.
Where there's a chance, where he could get caught. Because I forgot what Ricardo Montalban did. Something very silly that he gets questioned.
He's actually there. They're promoting. It's a traveling circus, and they're doing promotion for it.
Yes?
Could you possibly be so kind as to display it in your window, please?
When I have the time.
Thank you.
And what happens is that there is an ape that is being punished for disobeying.
That's right.
And
then
Caesar
says something.
Lousy human bastards!
Someone's like, hey, that ape just talked.
Yeah.
And that's what kicks this whole thing off. So Ricardo Montalban is arrested, and he's brought in for questioning. And they know who he is, and they know that he knew Zira and Cornelius, and they're basically trying to figure out, is that actually their child? Is that the child that we assumed was dead all this time, but never had a body to confirm?
But, Mr. Governor, every zoo, public and private, was searched by the police, and every circus, including my own.
Where a small chimpanzee was found.
The only chimpanzee ever to be born in a circus, and legally certified to have been born a month before the talking apes arrived on Earth.
No. Has your ape ever talked or shown any signs of being articulate in your presence?
Never in my presence. You can question my circus hands.
We intend to. And meanwhile, you will remain in custody.
So Caesar blends in with the crowd. He starts acting like a primitive ape and stuff like that. And behind the scenes, he puts together the greatest fucking union ever assembled. Jimmy Hoffa's like, that's how you fucking do it, motherfucker. That right there is how you do that fucking shit. And it's a big fucking revolution, revolt.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's that.
Now, there's two cuts of this film. There's the theatrical cut, which is a PG cut, and they lopped out like anything that might mildly be considered offensive, which is ironic when you have a movie that's about an uprising and an overthrow. Let's not show any blood or anything that's too violent in this. However, I have the Blu-ray collection that has the original director's cut, and they gave no f***s.
It is God's will that he be dominated with compassion and understanding.
No, they did not.
It is a bloodbath, and it actually takes a mediocre theatrical cut and turns it into a really smart, really engaging, really interesting director's cut. I actually think that this may very well be the first great director's cut that was buried in a vault for like 40 years before they finally were like, oh yeah, that's not the original cut of the film. This is what the director gave us. I love the director's cut of this film. I'm very iffy on the theatrical version of it because it's so sanitized. It's so, oh, the apes are angry. We should just give them what they want. Whereas when you watch this version and you see an army of apes and they've got guns and cleavers and knives and hatchets and they are literally like being mowed down by machine gun fire and they're still just coming and coming and coming. It's relentless. It's great. If you ever needed a reason to buy a movie on Blu-ray, this is the one you need to buy on Blu-ray right here.
So I've never seen this movie, so I'm assuming what I watched was the director's cut when I watched it at your house.
Yeah, when we watched
it.
Yeah.
So I've never seen the theatrical version of it. What I saw was spot on, was Chef's Kiss. It's what I would picture an uprising to be. And they handled it so well. And they did it in such a condensed and smart way. It's subtle nods and cues. It's like the apes pick up on the fact that Caesar is one step above them. Yeah, they recognize, like, instinctually that, you know, this guy is something special. We need to follow this guy. And you just see subtle nods of acknowledge between the different apes as he's going along. It's so well done.
This is actually my favorite of the sequels right here. I love the original, and then this one is like right there because, again, it's dealing with so many ideas, and it's doing it in such a relatable, condensed, entertaining, and informative way. And at no point does it ever feel preachy, and that's tough to do. That is really tough to pull that one off. But when you see them doing the training of the apes, and when you see them do the breeding of the apes, and when you like they literally show you all this, and it's done in a way that it never feels overlong. It never outstays its welcome. There is not a scene that is in this film that ever feels wasted.
There's only one little thing that I don't like. Well, there's two little things I don't like about it. Number one is the kind of slight contrivance and the kind of stupidity of Ricardo Montalban bringing it in. I get it. He's like trying to do like this thing, but it's whatever. I can look past that. The other minor little gripe is the makeup effects aren't done quite as well because they got so many people that they got to do. They got to have in these outfits. So the quality of the ape makeup on the extras and stuff like that, you can tell is subpar. There's some masks that look pretty fucking janky.
You're not wrong. But it's a forgivable sin given that they had a smaller budget than the previous film.
But yet they still managed to capture all the charm and intrigue and stuff like that as the rest of the series, even though it's a diminishing budget as it goes along.
And Roddy McDowall is great in this role.
Yes, he is.
I was going to say, one of my favorite little details in this film is that when Milo, realizes Ricardo Montalban has been killed, he's got to be herded up and be retrained as an ape. So he's got to, basically hide in plain sight, for lack of a better word. And they, he gets bought by the governor because he's an exceedingly well-trained ape, and he doesn't startle, he doesn't frighten, he's perfect to add to the workforce, all that. And I love the fact that he's like, it's just tradition, and he pulls out a book, and he's like, I always let my animals pick their own names.
To revive a charming tradition established in her lifetime by my dear wife, and let you name yourself. Caesar. A king.
And he picks Caesar as his name, and the assumption is that he doesn't know how to read. It's just happenstance. Nope, not even. That is such a subtle little detail that they packed in there, and it's so beautifully done.
Unlike in Star Wars, where
I don't have people. I'm alone. Solo.
Brilliant. Yeah. Way to go, Disney. Way to go.
But yeah, this is far and away my favorite of the POTA films. I cannot get enough of this film. This is the reason why POTAthon exists. Because like I said, I've always been fascinated by it, but by the whole Planet of the Apes series. But this is that one, I can't wait to get to it. It's just so in your face, so visceral, so like the director's cut is so no given. So any other thoughts about this before we move on to the big finish?
No, let's get on to it.
All right, so that's it for Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Coming up next is Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
So here's the final Battle of the Planet of the Apes, 1973.
Climaxing the epic series which made motion picture history comes the last, the most spectacular of all the ape adventures.
Now, fight like apes!
Out of the Forbidden City they roared, to settle once and for all who had the right to rule the planet, ape or man.
And shit, I mean, this is where it all comes full circle.
Yes.
This is where it all kind of culminates, where you get all the elements from the first one, the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one. I mean, it's all here. You got the mutants in this one. You got the beginnings of the ape society and the humans being treated as second-class citizens in this one.
Yeah. The gorillas attempting to wrest power from the chimpanzees. And when we watch the first movie, the chimpanzees are the lowest class. It's the orangutans are the brains, and the gorillas are the muscle, and chimpanzees are just kind of
they're the scientists,
teachers, intellectuals. They're frowned upon on that one. Whereas that's not how this society started. It started off with the chimpanzee front and center and running the whole show. And Aldo is particularly, Aldo is the gorilla general. He wants nothing to do with educating. He believes everything that they want should just be taken by force. He's by far the most animalistic of all of the characters.
What do I care for Caesar's anger? Let me give you a taste of mine.
And he wants power. He doesn't know what he's going to do with it, but he just wants it. And that's all there is to it.
No more killing, Aldo. Put down your weapons. Take them back to the armory.
No, we shall keep the guns. Move, Caesar, or we shall kill you.
Yeah, he wants it in a bad way. Yeah,
and
he's very reminiscent of the general in the second one. Was it Ursus? Ursus, yeah. Except for not as charismatic. At least not with the rest of the apes, whereas Ursus could speak to pretty much all of the other apes. Aldo is just gorillas only.
Yeah, Aldo is brute force.
Yeah.
Ursus is he's a politician. He is most definitely there to rally, not just the gorillas. He wants to get the support of the orangutans and the chimpanzees, and then he wants to go shoot everything that moves. Whereas Aldo just wants to shoot everything that moves, and that's all fine and good.
We want guns. Guns are power. Now we go and get guns.
We get introduced to the fact that there's different tiers of ape intelligence, because while Caesar is educated and Caesar can read and speak well and all that, there's actually a school that's set up. And the irony of this whole thing is that this all kicks off over one word.
Ape shall never kill Abe.
No, Aldo, no!
And it is absolutely forbidden for any of the humans that are treated equal in most respects, but a human may never use the word no when it comes to any ape, because that was the word that was basically used to torture all of ape kind.
And that's set up in the previous film. Whenever the apes would up and whatever tests are trained, no, like this.
No, Zelda, no.
Come back.
No.
No! Go back! No! No!
And so they heard that all the time. No.
And then there was actually when Caesar is on the table and they're shocking him and it's no over the speakers really loud. So they establish it really, really well, and then in this film they kind of take it and go there. There's also a war has occurred, so the vast majority of civilization has collapsed, which is where the mutants are. And they actually have decided that they're going to go back to the city and they're going to get the records of Cornelius and Zira, and they're going to show Caesar his parents, who he never actually got to meet because they were dead.
When we grow to know and trust your people, then we shall all be equals and remain so until the end of the world.
Which may be sooner than you think.
You are such a pessimist.
Or a prophet.
I cannot believe you.
Would you believe it if you heard it from the lips of your own parents? There are tapes, sealed tapes of Cornelius and Zira being examined by officials of the American government.
That's part of it. They're also going to try and kind of see what's going on, what technology is there that they might want to use, because technology exists. It's frowned upon. There is an orangutan that actually, stands guard over all the weapons, and he's the only one that can actually agree to allow arms to be distributed.
What does Caesar want? Weapons. For what purpose? For self-protection in the pursuit of knowledge.
Their trip to the Forbidden Zone, which is not quite the same Forbidden Zone that we're used to, but stirs the mutants up, and they decide that they're going to come back because they're a little upset about what the apes did to humanity.
Yeah, they're way upset about that.
Yeah.
And then and tucked in the corner is the Alpha Omega bomb.
Absolutely. So there's
and there's already vestiges of the their skin becoming kind of veiny and things like that. So they did a really good job of tying this back into the second film.
With the smallest budget of all of the Planet of the Apes films. And then this also has, Paul Williams? Or
Yes, Paul Williams.
Yes, Paul Williams is one of the orangutans in this one. And he's charming in the role.
Tell him he's sorry, Abe, and go home. Well, you've still got a home to go to. We'll put in a good word for you with Caesar.
He's legitimately charming. You can completely tell it's him if you watch Phantom of the Paradise. So, you're like, I know that voice.
And he doesn't explain any singers in this one either.
and then, you have a human that breaks the law. He actually uses the word no, and that causes Aldo to basically destroy the school, and it also gives him a reason to hate on humans and basically try to corral them all up into one spot when the mutants actually come into attack.
Bring all humans to the garage!
But then you have an ape that breaks the law, and he kills another ape, and that ape specifically is Caesar's son.
And it was Aldo that did it because Caesar's son, who's Cornelius, was messing around and stuff like that, and was in the tree when Aldo was talking about
whacking Caesar,
talking about, his coup plan.
Look.
It's Caesar's son.
And he overheard every word we said.
It all starts here. It all ends here. And Aldo actually winds up dying really poorly, brutally, if you will. But
hey, apes don't kill apes, and you'll find out why. You don't want to be Aldo in this particular situation. It's savage.
Now, so you've never seen this one before either.
Yeah. So there's only a couple things I really didn't like about this movie. Number one, contrivance again. Why we gotta go to the Forbidden City? Well, I want to see footage of my parents.
My mother.
Who won your war?
It wasn't our war. It was the guerrillas' war.
That's my father. On a historic day, there came an ape who spoke a word which had been spoken to him time without number by humans. He said, no.
Did not need to happen, but they need a reason to go there anyway.
Yeah.
Two is you can really tell the low budget in this one because that battle scene at the end is kind of sad and pathetic. But the story is so good, and you're so entrenched in it that you can look past it, because everything else is so well done, so well executed. All the themes are so well executed, all the stories are well executed, all the characters are well executed, that even that, wasn't enough to suck me out of it. Now, if you just watch this, like if this was the first Planet of the Apes movie you saw and try to watch this thing, no. And that's kind of the fatal flaw with this series, is that you have to watch
the one
the beginning, or the one before it. Really, the best thing to do is to start from the beginning. You may be able to start with Beneath the Planet of the Apes, because it's essentially a recap. You get that, and then you can proceed. But if you don't watch any of the other ones before this,
Potathon, baby.
You're fucked and you're lost. But at the same time, too, having the same director and the same writer thread that fucking needle.
Yes, and they did it. They did
so
it
good.
superbly for what they had to work with. And
if only they had more money, if they even had the budget of like the third film, would have made it that much more enjoyable.
I guarantee you that Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes cost more than all 5 of the original Planet of the Apes.
Easy. I have no doubt about it.
And yet Tim Burton completely lost the thread on that one, because he was like, oh, it's all about the visuals. It's got to look cool. It's got to look like a Tim Burton joint. and its story is so bad.
The hell are they? Your story is spreading through the villages. They all want to see this human who defies the apes.
Really, I think there's 2 big sins with that one. Number 1 is Mark Wahlberg. I mean, come on. Two is the script. I mean, it is a piss poor story. But then again, not everybody can be the sci-fi mystery genius that is Rod Serling to kick this off. I mean, and then at the same time too, Tim Burton probably was not the best director choice for that movie.
That was where they went wrong.
Yeah, it's too far outside his wheelhouse. All the makeup effects and all that stuff were great in that movie, and they had a rock solid cast short of Mark Wahlberg. Because you have Helen Bonham Carter in that one. You had Michael Clark Duncan. Who played
was it Ursus or Aldo? I don't remember, but he's perfect as the gorilla.
Oh, he's great. But who's the chimp general in that one?
Is there a soul in there?
It's Tim Roth.
His performance is so fucking brutal, so menacing. That's a fucking villain.
I'm just gonna say, like, they had everything they needed to make a great repop of Planet of the Apes.
Except for a good leading man and a good story. And director.
Yeah.
Sure, those 3 things.
Mark Wahlberg is no Charlton Heston. He's not. He's handsome. He's well built, but is he charismatic? Is he? Do you ever look at Mark Wahlberg and think there's a smart man right there?
You got the touch. You got the power.
No, and don't get me wrong. Mark Wahlberg in the right role is perfectly fine. Watch him in Fear. Holy. That is a performance. Actually, his performance in Pain and Gain, which actually works very well off of that dumb jock thing with him and The Rock. It's a fun movie.
Even Boogie Nights.
I mean, Boogie Nights is fucking fantastic too.
In the right role, he's perfect. In Planet of the Apes, he sucks. So, and I don't know how much to fault him. I can understand why he would be a part of it, but what I don't understand is why that was their pick for that role. I can imagine a million other actors that are contemporary that would have been far more convincing as an intellectual astronaut who winds up on a planet run by apes. Someone a bit more in the vein of Charlton Heston, but
But even then, I don't think Lee Mann was going to save that movie.
No, it still needed a script that was worth a shit. So, and it also didn't help that the humans talked. as weird as that sounds, the fact that
did they? I don't remember. It's been so, it's been so long.
Carrie Werher, I think she's like there, and naturally she's got to hit it off and have a romance with Mark Wahlberg because he's just so dreamy. but yeah, I'm glad that it came and went, and I'm glad that when people talk about Planet of the Apes, they're like, oh yeah, and that one that Tim Burton made. I'm glad it played out exactly like it needed to. Now,
so changing gears and talking about the newest or the latest series of Planet of the Apes, I'll watch these, the OG, any day over the new ones. While the new ones are cool, they're not that good. I just the themes don't come across as good. I don't like the progression of the story. I mean, it works, but this is so much better, and for a fraction of the budget. I infinitely enjoy this more than the new ones. I mean, they have their place. I just, it's too much spectacle. There's too much wrapped into the CGI and stuff like that. And I think some of their villains aren't as smartly written and as realized as these movies. Yeah, and there's just too much time focused on the battle between the humans and the apes. I mean, they've been doing it for how many movies now?
Well, 2. I mean, there's only been 3, and 2 of them focused on the conflict between humanity and the apes.
What's this new one supposed to be?
This new one is actually going to be Planet of the Apes. I mean, it's going to be the original because it's what's the title of the new Planet of the Apes movie that's coming out this? Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So, and I'm going to assume, if you go back and you watch Rise of the Planet of the Apes, they actually have a very brief news screen at the beginning where it actually says, like, the Icarus has disappeared shortly after launch. It's like, if you blink, you'll miss it, but it's there. And then they explain, like, this Alzheimer drug that made the apes super intelligent has also unleashed this horrible plague that is basically wiping out humanity.
Yeah, I remember all that junk.
They cover all that, and I think they do a really rock solid job with that particular setup. And then they basically go into the 3rd and 4th movies or I guess 4th and 5th movies of the original POTUS series. And so now we're wrapped back around to where we're going to actually get to see the spaceship land. And the trailer actually kind of indicates that, yeah, that's what's going to happen. The spaceship's going to land, and it's going to be a planet ruled by apes. And so I think that I like the remake series. I appreciate them for exactly what they are. My first love is still the original POTUS series. But I think that this is a remake done right because, well, you and I are old enough to remember, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and not that CGI thing. I mean, like the one with Rodan, and you can see the strings. And we're still entertained by it. I don't think a younger audience would be all like, that's just a puppet, dude. So I can appreciate why they remade it, and I actually think that some of the choices they made were really smart. I think that the 3rd War for the Planet of the Apes, I love Woody Harrelson's character in it. I like the whole battle sequence of that and how they're trying to basically, recapture the apes and either kill them or turn them into laborers. I like what they did. I also like the fact that they didn't...
I don't like the human characters. I don't like the human antagonists. I didn't like what's his face in the second one.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, and I didn't like Woody Harrelson in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So
they're just too over the fucking top, and they're so one note. No.
I mean, I get it, but I appreciate
I don't
them.
get it. I just don't.
I appreciate them for what they are.
For me, they're pure spectacle, and sure, like what's his name? Circus is a fine actor and all that stuff, but and I'm not faulting him. I'm fighting whoever writes these and who directs these. Is it the same writer and director in these?
Matt Reeves did the second one and the third one.
Matt Reeves wrote all 3 and he directed the
Okay,
second.
so there you go. Matt Reeves, who did the Batman.
Okay.
So.
The Batman's okay. It's too fucking long.
I'm a fan of all of Matt Reeves' work that I've seen so far, so
so
your mileage may vary, but
it's not for me. This is for me. This original OG series, these 5 films are for me. I will watch these again next time you do Potathon.
There you go.
I am 100% on board for this. It is absolutely a recommend for me. Is it a buy for me? No. He's got them already. I don't need to buy them. And again, I only watch them when I'm watching with you and stuff like that. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't watch these again for like several years later.
Yeah, well,
but again, just the fact that I'm recommending this is really a big deal. I say it like some important I'm not. But now again, mileage may vary. If you're older gentleman or lady like us, absolutely recommend. For the younger ones, I don't know. I don't know who's really going to enjoy this or not. I don't know if
I'm going to say this.
You're not the typical young person, but Jordan, our lovely production assistant, what's your thoughts on this, and what do you think a younger audience would feel about these movies?
I mean, besides the Tim Burton one, I love almost all of them equally.
Mm-hmm.
You could definitely find people my age who would appreciate this stuff, especially with the fact that people my generation have gone back. You brought up Godzilla. Well, that's got a revival, the classic ones, to the point where Toei is like, oh, there's an audience there. Let's go bring them back and redo them and bring them out on Blu-ray and stuff like Ultraman and stuff.
Yeah.
So there is an audience for it, but it's one of those, you're not going to bring in everyone, but there's very much a dedicated large audience for older, more sci-fi oriented stuff like this.
Nice.
The cult continues. Yeah. I mean, honestly, these were mainstream back in the day. They're very cult filmy now. But the cult is alive and well. That's all there is to it, and it's not gonna shrink anytime soon. And this is another one of those things that this is why you buy physical media, because good luck. They were on a streaming service last month. No, I want to sit and I want to watch all 5 of them in one damn day. And it only cost me $40 one time, and I get to enjoy it for the rest of my life. Or until I wear those discs out, whichever comes first.
Or until they stop making Blu-ray players.
But yeah, no, I love these movies. I love everything about them. I'm a huge fan of it. This is the first great science fiction film franchise, and this just goes to prove, if you love story, if you love character, these films are absolutely for you. And this is proof that there is nothing new under the sun, because there's so much in these 5 films, and each film has its own unique voice and unique tone.
But yet common tone and thread through each one too.
But none of them ever feel cut and paste. None of them ever feel like, well, we're going to do what we did in the last movie, we're going to do it bigger, and that's what's sorely lacking from so much science fiction and just movie franchises in general today, because everything feels so cut and pasty. This is proof that you can do this. Your audience will follow along with you, and you have the potential to tell a much greater story. And a much more endearing story. A story
the funny thing is, it's the same things recycled, but they're just told from different perspectives.
Pretty much.
I mean, 5 films, all the same themes, told from different perspectives. I mean, it's genius in its simplicity.
Yeah. I can't sum it up any better than that. So final thoughts. Anything else?
No, that was my final thought.
There you go. Well, that is my final thoughts. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.